let's talk about an issue that many chanters in the United States are struggling with. So I was actually surprised to hear how many people are dealing with this issue. I thought it was just my friend in Arizona, because I'll talk about his experience with this. But many other people have asked me about this issue as well, and that is people who want to learn Byzantine chanting, but for one reason or another, their parish, whether that's the priest, the lead chanter, the congregation, or a combination of multiple people, are not supportive of this. They are discouraging them, they're stifling them, they're making it difficult for this person to learn Byzantine music. And I'll just give the example of my friend in Arizona. So, my friend in Arizona is a chanter, and he wanted to start learning Byzantine notation, because at his parish, what they would do is they would chant everything in Western notation. And as you guys in the United States know, we have the Ages Digital Chant Stand and the St. Anthony's the Divine Music Project. Those are the two main sources, at least in the Greek Church. And they have the music written in Western and Byzantine notation. It's kind of the same melody. So at this parish in Arizona, they were using the Western notation. And the issue with using Western notation, of course, it kind of, it's hard to replicate some of the scales correctly, some of the intervals. And also, it just kind of distorts the general style of Byzantine music when you are chanting it with Western notation. So my friend, he wanted to learn Byzantine notation and to chant things using Byzantine notation instead. And the issue he had was the lead chanter was not supportive of that, because the lead chanter, he was trained in Western notation, and he only used Western notation for the most part, which is fine. But what happened is he basically discouraged my friend, and he told my friend that he had to learn Western notation if he wanted to chant there, because all of the chanters that they were training at the time, they were all doing Western notation. Well, my friend didn't want to use Western notation for the reasons we just mentioned, and there was an issue. So why am I talking about this? This is discouraging. It's hard enough to learn Byzantine notation. It's hard enough to go up there and chant in front of all those people. But what happens when, after you take that risk to do that, you get discouraged, you get stifled for trying to do the right thing? That's discouraging. That's upsetting. And I'm just surprised how many people have dealt with this, so I want to talk about this issue. So, there are basically two main issues that people tend to run into from my experience, from what people have told me. The first one, like my friend in Arizona, what often happens is your parish is just so used to doing things a certain way, which is usually very westernized. And of course, I'm talking mainly about parishes in the United States. I've heard similar from like Australia, Canada, but they're so used to, let's say, the what do you call it? The polyphonic choir type of stuff. Western notation, maybe just the green book, congregational sort of singing with the green book. And they're so used to this, to the point where Byzantine notation, when you try to introduce it to them, they have a negative reaction to it. They are it's intimidating, it's foreign, and they shut it down. And this is frustrating, because it's like you're trying to learn this special art of the church. It's an ancient sort of tradition of our church, and it's getting met with this sort of negative reaction. A couple things to understand this issue. Often, what you'll see in a lot of parishes is they just want things to run smoothly, so that they can have the services, so they can just get things done and deliver to the people what they need spiritually, right? They want to be able to have the church services and whatever is most convenient, whether that's for the lead chanter, because maybe they don't have anyone else to help with chanting, so whatever the lead chanter wants to do, whatever the people like. Sometimes the priest, and I'm not even blaming anybody, sometimes the priest and the leadership in general, they just go, okay, just do whatever, just so things can run smoothly. In other words, it may not be correct, but it's what they want, so just do it. That happens a lot, and that's fine, but then the problem is you try to learn things the correct way, and then you get shut down and you get discouraged for it. This is frustrating. So, and also, you have to understand something about people. They get, and this applies to many different things. I'm going to get into more detail with this. People get intimidated sometimes, and they shut down the things that they themselves do not know, the things that are foreign to them, right? They say, oh, I don't want to deal with that because it's a bit too big, it's a bit too intimidating for some people. And just understand that people do that, and don't blame them, but just be aware. So, this is what I want to talk about. We tend to have this sort of divide in the United States, from what I have seen. We will have, on the one hand, parishes where you've got John Boyer as the protopsaltis, and they are doing a great job, and they're professionals, and they studied in Greece, and they really know what they're doing, right? And then on the other hand, we have a lot of parishes that only know how to chant from the Green Book, and they read through Orthros. So we've got this sort of extremes, right? And this is kind of where my goals come into application here. So what are my goals? What am I trying to do here? For those who are new to this channel, I teach Byzantine music online, and my sort of format, the way I do things, is my audience, my students, the people I work with, are all busy people with busy schedules, oftentimes maybe young people, oftentimes converts. We have a lot of converts. And these are people who, again, they want to learn Byzantine music, but either the extreme form, because as you can see, I call it the Philanthidis school, because I love the Mount Athos style of chanting from Philanthidis and chanters like that. But what you'll notice in my recordings that I post is that it might not exactly sound like those chanters on Mount Athos. It might not sound like the very, very authentic, let's say the Vanille, or that sort of authentic school of Athonite chanting. My style is a bit more Americanized. It's a bit more like, it's similar to, let's say, what is it? I forgot now what they call it, but there's the Kelly of St. John the Theologian or something. There's varying types of styles on Mount Athos, but my point is, my style it's a bit watered down, it's a bit more simplified. It's more comparable to, Papa Ephraim of St. Anthony's, the recordings he makes. Why do I do this? This is my point. Why do I do this? Because my audience, or my students, the people I work with, like I said, they're very busy. They, first of all, don't have tons of time, during the day. They don't have hours and hours to devote to learn how to chant. But they also want to learn and they want to apply these skills in their parish. Two things are going on here. First of all, they don't have time for the intensive sort of study to sound exactly like the, let's say, the Danile on Mount Athos or whatever. But they still want to learn, right, in a way that's practical so that they can apply it in their parish. So we have two things going on here. They don't have time to sort of do this sort of intense study, but also the very authentic traditional style of Byzantine chanting as you would hear on Mount Athos, honestly, it's a bit intimidating for these people, the chanters themselves, to learn, and just for the parish and the leadership in general. It's something foreign, it's something that they're not used to. So what's the way to deal with this? Like I said, my style is a bit of a middle ground, because in the United States we have many people that say they are Byzantine chanting teachers, when what they often do is they use very westernized materials. They use Western notation, right? I do not use Western notation. I don't even know how to read it, right? So I never use Western notation. I only use the Byzantine notation. But again, I take this sort of middle ground as far as the way I chant and the ethos, the style, whatever you want to call it, because people have pointed this out. And in the future, I would like to actually make some more recordings that kind of showcase the more Athonite sort of elaborate Athonite ethos style, whatever you want to call it. But my purpose is very practical for people that are busy, for people that just have a parish that honestly maybe is having issues with finding the right resources to learn how to chant. They don't want to use Western notation, but they want to learn in a way that's approachable. If that sounds like you, if you feel like working with me would be beneficial to you, then you can click the link in the description. You can schedule a free lesson. But anyway, that is what I do. And that's important for the practical sort of application of this stuff in a parish. Because the truth is, you can't take a parish that just uses Western notation and just shock them into as if they're on Mount Athos. It's not going to work. You have to slowly expose them to this stuff in a way that's palatable for them. Another thing you'll often hear is people can't sing along. People can't sing along to this type of music, right? Because many parishes, they like for the congregation to sing along. So as a result, they'll often water things down, westernize things, so that the people can follow along. And again, sometimes it's easier to just go with the flow, even if it's not doing things correctly. And again, that's why I tried to provide this middle ground of let's learn Byzantine music in a way that is approachable to you, and you can get people to become comfortable with it. So how should you deal with this as someone who's wanting to learn how to chant? First of all, you have to understand from other people's perspective what's going on in their heads. Don't blame yourself if you're trying to do things correctly and they're not receptive to it. Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. You're trying to do the right thing. Of course, I don't see you in person exactly what you're trying to do, but if your heart is in the right place, you are listening to the chanters of Mount Athos, you're trying to do things the traditional way, and they're not being receptive of it. Sometimes it's a lot of times it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself, but understand how they are seeing things and what you have to do sometimes it's kind of, I don't want to say condescend, but basically condescend to their level and present things in a way that is approachable to them. And if you look on my YouTube videos, my recordings, I try my best to do that. Though I do want to also present the other side, the other more traditional side of things, so you guys can hear that as well. That's my next sort of goal. And sometimes you just have to do, in some ways, you have to do what makes people happy. And again, you have to use your discretion. If they love to do congregational singing, some things do congregational singing, some things don't. Slowly ease them into it. What's the next issue that people have to deal with? And this is kind of along the same lines, but it's got a bit of a different issue in itself. And my friend in Arizona definitely experienced this. And this is the issue of just dealing with difficult people in general. This is not even about chanting, just dealing with difficult people. I had someone who messaged me, and they were telling me about this, and I was like, oh, wow, a lot of people are dealing with this. Sometimes people are insecure. Like I said about people who shy away from or shut down the things that they don't know, sometimes people get insecure about the things they don't know, especially if there's someone else that's better than them. Now, I know there's people better than me. There's people way better than me. And they've spoken to me. And when I see a chanter that's better than me, I acknowledge that he's better than me. And if they have advice for me, I take their advice. I try to implement their advice if I see that it's applicable. But I listen. I'm open to people who are better than me. Because they're better than me. I want to be good. I want to be really good too. Right? So, but some people aren't that way. Some people, I'll put it into perspective, right? You've got a lead chanter, and he studied for years. He went to university and spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and he learned Western music theory, right? And then he became a chanter and said, oh, well, I know all about music. I have a degree in music. And they hold up the degree. And then they just implement their musical knowledge and use it for Byzantine chanting. And they think that's fine. Oh, I'm just going to use Western notation, and I know how to sing. I know what I'm doing. I have a degree. But they forget that Byzantine music is very different than Western music, right? And what often happens, or what sometimes can happen, is, let's say, they're placed in charge of the chanting, they're the protopsaltis, and someone else comes along who is actually studying, let's say, Byzantine notation, right? And Byzantine notation, well, it's the more correct way, right? And all these years, this lead chanter assumed that they were doing things the right way, and then this chanter with who knows Byzantine notation comes along, and what's the reaction? Well, if it were me, I would say, ooh, this person knows something I don't. Maybe I can learn from them, right? And I know plenty of chanters who are very open like that and humble and confident in themselves. But some lead chanters will go, what is this? This is not the way I do it. And again, they shut it down, and they shut you down for what you're trying to do. I've heard someone with this same predicament. My friend in Arizona had this same predicament, and it's difficult. It's frustrating. Again, you have to put yourself in their shoes in this situation. Your knowledge and what you're doing is foreign to them and kind of threatening to them. so they're going to shut you down. And it's discouraging, it's frustrating, and again, you have to understand it from their perspective, because otherwise you're going to get discouraged, because it's hard enough to learn this stuff. It's hard enough just to learn this stuff and to go up in front of all those people, but then to get kind of shut down and pushed away for doing it, that's not good, because then you just want to give up. My message to you is do not give up, right? There's a few things you can do. I think I've said this in another video. If you're dealing with someone who's difficult and who is not receptive to what you're doing, if you can go and find another parish where they are supportive of you, then definitely do that. Definitely do that. Because it's hard to deal with difficult people. But if you can't go to another parish, just understand where these people are coming from. Put yourself in their shoes, right? And understand that sometimes for the priest, it's just easier to kind of just go with the flow and try to make everybody happy rather than do the most correct thing. And that's fine. I don't blame anybody for that, but just understand that this is common. Don't take it personally. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah. So, again, this happens, this is very common. This happens with a lot of people. And I just wanted to share, some things you can do to basically understand their perspective and kind of find a sort of middle ground when it comes to this. You don't want to westernize things. You don't want to use Western notation. You want to learn Byzantine music, but in a way that people can sort of understand. So I hope this was helpful.